and Jimmy Haslam, the owners of the Browns, met with the media, and both of them very happy with the way the front office and the head coach have worked together to get this roster headed in the right direction.
Kevin had been with the Vikings, 12, 13 years, had never been a head coach anywhere. And yet, if you came to practice that first day or heard his first talk to the team, you'd never think, well, I can tell this guy's new. I mean, they both stepped right in. They're natural leaders. They're very calm. They're thoughtful. They plan and organize things well. And I don't want to say it was a surprise because we had our expectations, but they surpassed expectations in terms of becoming the top person in personnel and the head coach in the NFL.
Yeah, great leaders.
Let's welcome back in Jake Burns from the Orange and Brown Report. And Jake, the Haslams got it right. We haven't heard a lot from them. I think they've been the type of owners you had hoped they would be after getting the GM and the head coach handled.
Yeah, listen, they're lucky that Kevin was available and willing to come back. I mean, like, listen, it's easy for me to sit at a desk and say this, but like they missed the year before, and they clearly trusted John Dorsey to make his call. And while that's okay because you don't want to work for micromanagers all the time, there's a scenario here, Dave, where it plays out, and in the next year Kevin gets hired by somebody else, and he's like, forget Cleveland. I don't even want to interview with those guys again because of what they did to me. They had me as a real front runner. They knew I deserved that job, was the best player, the best coach for that position, and they passed on me. There's people that are like that, wired that way, and that's totally fine. But seems like, Kevin almost seems too good to be true in the fact that he doesn't hold grudges. He doesn't hold himself above anybody else. He doesn't think his opinion is above and beyond anyone else. And he just seems so level-headed and so unique in his perspective. It's very fresh, and the way he's tied to Andrew Berry, who I think if you shook hands and hung out, say you're at a casual get-together, you wouldn't even know those guys were in these prominent positions because they don't carry themselves that way. They don't want eyes on them all the time. They don't want to be told that they're more important than anybody else. They are process people. And, for Kevin to come back and re-interview this year and be so willing to take this position, I should say before last year, it speaks a lot to who he is as a football coach and as a person. And listen, I'll give Dee and Jimmy credit for going back, circling the wagons. And I'm sure they sat in that room with him and said, hey, we made a big mistake and we should have hired you a year earlier. And they probably amended it. And kudos to them for finding their guy and allowing him to trust a young head coach and trust a young GM and Andrew Berry. That takes a leap of faith to trust young people like that, and a GM of color, which is just awesome. Like, not enough black general managers in the industry when this is an industry that is predominantly black. Like, I think they're on the forefront of hiring in the right way, hiring people, not worrying about all the good old boy network. I think that they're at the forefront of hiring people regardless of skin color or race or ethnicity, and that's awesome. So I give them kudos for that. So it's a lot of thanks to Kevin Stefanski for being willing to come back and re-interview and not be too prideful in his approach, and kudos to Jimmy and Dee for being willing to accept that mistake and make it right, and then go pair him with a young guy who it takes a leap of faith, a guy that young, and I know he was with Cleveland before, and they knew him and they knew about him, but still, entrusting your roster development and all of that to a person his age is not easy, and I give him kudos for that. So they deserve the praise that they're receiving right now.
Yeah, and you know what? Andrew Berry's rewarded them handsomely